The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone. We are about to start the webinar for today. Right. This is an exclusive webinar about the 5 most important things about an MBA aspirant should know. And I am Naresh Dubbudu, your webinar presenter for today. Let's actually get going on the topic for today. I hope you're able to see the title of the webinar today. This is a very interesting topic that I've been handling with many other audiences for a long time now. I call them 5 W's of MBA choice. Let's actually understand what they are and how do we actually take care of that. And before I do that, let me actually take you through my profile. The presenter's profile is there and the slide there. For those who are interested to know more details, you can probably look at them. In essence, I'm basically an engineering gold medalist from NIT Warangal, then did my MBA from IIM Bangalore, and then I've also been to Stanford Business School as an exchange student. And I did work through a lot of sectors, but one sector that has actually been very close to me is education, and I'm here in education for the last 5 years taking care of Abhyaas Edu Corp, which is a venture I've founded to kind of train students for various exams, and apart from that we kind of do a lot of vocational skilling as part of skill development. So let's actually go forward and let me actually take you through the agenda for today. Right, the agenda for today actually is very simple. For me, I wanted you to take through the 5 W's as I call it, the who should be taking MBA and who should not be taking MBA, why should one take an MBA, why should not one take an MBA, and which kind of course, which kind of MBA one should look at, when should one actually look at, when is the right time for someone to look at taking an MBA, and finally where should one think of doing his or her MBA. These are the 5 critical questions I would try to answer. I'll try spending 15-20 minutes on these questions and all, and then we'll actually do an open house where I think all those who are present in the webinar can send their questions to me, and I'll pick those questions and kind of read out the name of the candidate who has sent the question to us, who is the asker, and accordingly we'll kind of take the questions also after these 15-20 minutes. So I believe you're all there with me. Let's actually get going with the webinar for today, right? Let's start with the first question, right? The most important question, as I say, because I know while most of you here today have already probably either been an aspirant of MBA already, have done MBA already, are thinking of an MBA, but I thought while this might look like a very innocent question or naive question to ask at this point at this juncture, I still would want to tell you, because a lot of people who actually get into these schools come there without actually having any business to do there. I'll be very honest with you. I'll be upright. A lot of students who get into these schools, after they get in there, after they spend loads of money, they get to understand that that's not for them. That's not what they actually wanted. Many people are very unhappy. So hence, I wanted to attack this question right up front. Let's actually look at who are the kind of candidates who should actually be looking at the course called MBA. Let's actually understand this. So these are the 3 sections of people that I've listed on the slide there, if you can look at them. These are the kind of people I think should be taking the MBA seriously. The first and the foremost kind of people, actually this is a section of people for whom MBA was envisaged even when it was started the fourth time also, right? Now these are the people who are actually looking to go beyond their current role, start taking leadership roles, so building organization, building teams, running teams, managing teams. So these are the first set of people who actually look for an MBA, which is fair enough. The second set of people, particularly peculiar to India, we see a very interesting situation where only in India do we see that MBA is thought about as a career opening course. Across the world, you would never see someone doing an MBA because they did not have a job or they're looking for a job. In India, we have kind of changed. I mean, we always have we are the jugadus of the world, and we do well. You know, we kind of change MBA from being a career enhancing course to a career opening course for a lot of graduates who are not there with the job that they want, a job that they're not happy with. A lot of people kind of immediately take to PG post-graduation in management particularly to kind of look at a job. That's the second set of people. Again, a legal option, a reasonable option, and a valid option, as I say. And the third set of people, if you look at this, these are people who actually get into MBA because the job demands it at that point of time. These are people who have kind of worked for a lot of years, and they kind of decided that they wanted to get into specific function. They wanted to head a function, hence they had to get to know the innuendos of the function, etc. So these are the three reasons. These are the three sets of people who would probably get into MBA. And we also need to understand why one should not, what kind of people should not go into an MBA. A very important thing I would want to tell people is that a lot of people kind of think MBA is a course they need to do because they need to increase their salary, they need higher money. No, that's not the way, because these are the three reasons. I would say typically if you are aspiring to go for an MBA, it should be one of the three for you. Right? Let's actually go ahead and try to answer the next question, next crucial question for today. I wanted to discuss with you, why should one do an MBA? What are the things that one should look at? What are the reasons? I mean, what is the takeaway? What is the value proposition of doing an MBA for an MBA aspirant among any of the three sections that we have discussed already? Right? Let me kind of take you through my reason why I believe any good MBA aspirant, reasonable MBA aspirant would do an MBA. MBA, unlike many other courses and many other sciences, many other courses, you would see it's not a pure hard skills that one has. If you look at, there's a lot of soft business abilities that one is looking at. And if you look at the three items that I put on the slide there, the three attributes that I put there, there's a K, there's a S, there's a A. Knowledge, skills, and attitude. Knowledge, by knowledge I mean the knowledge of functions, different functions. Or sometimes, a good manager is expected to have an understanding of the economics, accounting, what does an organization structure mean, etc., etc. And similarly, skills actually mean how to kind of lead people, how to kind of build teams, how to handle marketing, and finally, attitude is a much bigger skill, believe me, because if you see, attitude is something that actually drives a good manager to become a leader. Now, as for why one should do an MBA, one should do an MBA because they need to get all this KSA. And if you look at them very carefully, I've kind of colored coded them in a very careful manner. The hard abilities, or the abilities that can be put on paper, black and white, are written in black. Knowledge, that is. Skills is more of, you definitely need to learn a lot, but then practice a lot to be able to internalize them. And then finally, attitude is something that is very soft skill, soft ability. Not many people get to understand how it is built, but it takes a lot of time. These are the reasons why one should look for an MBA, why one should aspire to do an MBA. I mean, any other reasons? Yes. Incidental, yes. Good job, good pay, good value in the society. All that is fine. But if these are the basic reasons why one is going for an MBA, great, because others are all incidental, others are byproduct, they'll happen. But if one looks at money as a reason, salary as a reason, and in turn goes to get just a degree and probably not focus so much on the actual value that an MBA provides, you might not actually take the best out of the MBA, right? So with this, let me actually take you to the third part of the thing. What actually is we need to understand what is the right course, which is the right course. Now, which part of the question? There are many. I kind of listed down some of the major dilemmas that people kind of have when they kind of look at a course. There are three kind of questions I kind of come across very regularly when I kind of talk to students about which MBA to take. The first, I try to answer that one question one at a time. The first question I'll try to answer is whether I should go for a 2-year MBA or a 1-year MBA. This is a very, very prominent question. Very, very prominent question. Now, 2-year MBA and 1-year MBA, please understand the way it is actually envisaged is a 2-year MBA is more useful for those who are looking at the career as a career opening course. If you remember, we have done the three sections of people who should go to, who kind of should get into MBA. A 2-year course is a lot of times useful for those with no experience to probably 2 to 3 lesser experience, I would say. Those who are looking at MBA as fulcrum, building career fulcrum. And a 1-year MBA course in India, particularly it is with the ISB, International School of Business, Indian School of Business in Hyderabad, is very, very popular for this course in India. This is a kind of course one can actually kind of try, look at if they have already had significant amount of experience and they are actually looking to either slide within their company or kind of looking to kind of get into bigger roles, etc. But a 2-year MBA otherwise is much better as compared to 1 year MBA for those who are just trying to get their foot into the management roles, etc. Because it would give you a longer time to understand the questions as well as kind of understand the content and, as I said, the KSA part of it. That is the first. In India, most of the courses that you kind of get through either through exams like CAT, MAT, CMAT, etc. Most of them are 2 years, and there are 1 year courses also offered by some good schools, as we have already discussed. ISB and IIMs also offer 1 year MBA courses, but these courses are mostly kind of take GMAT as an exam, GMAT as an entrance exam for those courses. And most of the foreign MBAs, a very interesting feature of foreign MBAs, which I'm going to touch upon later also in the where question, but still I see some questions already coming up, some countries, etc. I'll kind of take those questions a little later in the open house, right? So as I told you already, what I can very clearly tell you is across the world also you see American bent of MBA is more 2 year oriented. European bent of MBA is more like a 1.5 year oriented. So it kind of changes from region to region also. We need to understand that. I'll get to that later. The second kind of question that I get asked very regularly in audiences by audiences time and again is, should I actually prefer getting into a course which is more functional siloed as very general? By the way, let me kind of tell you, I am from an IIM Bangalore, and I was not given an MBA in any particular function. They kind of asked me to kind of very clearly, it's a very general MBA. There are some institutions, some top schools like SPJN, for example, does give you an MBA in a very clear function. It's either operations MBA or information systems MBA or marketing MBA or finance MBA. So while there are two types of mix, and what usually is better, again I would say there is no right answer or wrong answer. It depends entirely on you, your candidature. But I would say for someone who is trying to understand, trying to get a sense of an MBA and they're not sure of how the career is shaping up, it's usually much better to get into a general MBA because you end up having a much more wider exit basket. Whereas someone who is very clear, for example, someone has done a B Pharmacy and is planning to settle down in the pharmacy industry, if for example, Narsimon offers a very good course in pharmaceutical management. So for them, for those who are very clear about being in pharmacy industry, it might make sense. There are managements in retail, there are managements in petrochemicals. So industry-wise as well as functional, even marketing. Say someone who's very clear, who has already had some sales stint or marketing stint and want to continue in that field, it might make sense for them to get into functional. But otherwise, it makes a lot more sense for those who are not yet very clear as to which function they need to get into. It's much better to get into general, because general MBA, a holistic MBA, because it gives them much more wider range of exit options. Let me try to answer this question there, which is a very, very interesting question, and I get asked by a lot of people all the time about which of these three that you see there on the screen there, right? I mean, is it PGDM, PGPM or MBA, which is the best one? It's a very, very interesting question, because a lot of these schools actually kind of, there are the spurious schools also that come up in India, and hence parents and students are equally worried about choosing the right school. That's also a problem. IIMs, for example, are not. See, MBA in India is basically a degree. A degree can only be given by universities. Only universities can give degrees, not any other thing. Even IIMs are not universities, so they can't give you MBA. For example, IIM gives only postgraduate program in management. So there's some universities, some institutions, not universities, which give you PGDM if they are kind of affiliated. They are kind of, I would not say affiliated, recognized by ACT. Any course recognized by ACT grants PGDM, MBA by universities, and institutions which are autonomous, which are trying to do their own course, probably sometimes they don't even have an ACT recognition, does a PGPM, like IIMs. Having said that, this is a very dangerous situation. An MBA is easily understood, a PGDM is easily understood because it's kind of okay, it's a valid course or a legal course. PGPM is where the questions are all about, because you might have institutions like IIMs, you might have institutions like ISB, but at the same time, you have very, very spurious institutions also that are there in PGPM. That's why you would see a lot of questions, a lot of issues that are raised when it comes to the situation like this. So people need to be extremely careful about which kind of course they're getting into, because a lot of times it's not about only the course, but what kind of course. Is it PGDM, is it PGPM, is it MBA? I think the title doesn't matter, but what matters is the college. And particularly in the case of PGPM, be a little more extra cautious, because you need to be sure about the kind of college you're getting into. Does it actually have a brand of its own? Otherwise, it might not be a great use for you, right? Let's actually go to the next question. I see some of the questions that are actually coming up related to this slide. Probably they get answered here, right? Raj and Samar have been asking some questions, and I'll take the questions in detail later. But let's try to understand the fourth W of an MBA. When should one do an MBA? When should one actually look at doing an MBA? These are the questions, right? Should I do an MBA? What is the right time? Should I be doing an MBA immediately after graduation? Should I be doing an MBA waiting for 2 years or 4 years or more than 4 years? Believe me, doing an MBA is as good as doing immediately or after 10 years, doesn't matter. But as long as you're active, it's a very key word. I like to kind of write this. Why I'm saying this? Let me explain why I'm saying this. Many students, when they prepare for this exam called CAT or any other MBA exam, I see students being inactive. What I mean by inactive, let me explain. A lot of students come to me saying that I've just completed my graduation. I'm thinking of doing CAT for the next 1 year and probably get into MBA after that. Believe me that 1 year is not going to be taken lightly. You can't have a gap after your graduation. So the best suggestion for me, more than the tenure, I think the first question is, are you active? That is, if you're trying to do an MBA, say after 4 years of your graduation, perfectly fine. But then what are you doing in these 4 years? Do you have a job and you're very clearly passionate about the job you're doing the job, you're learning every day, and you believe this learning at this point of time makes you believe that the MBA is not important. That's okay. But if it is not the case, you're just striving to get into a school of your own this thing and you're waiting for that, that's not a great thing to do. In general, it is MBA as a course is envisaged. When I answer this question, I'll be very brutal. I mean, frankly speaking, an MBA is not a course which is an entry point. It's a course which has to be enhancing, right? So it's rather a lot more useful for someone to do an MBA after some amount of tenure, either 2 years or 4 years, because it makes them understand the value of MBA. But a lot of people in India are they do courses as a fresher also. The only reason being you're not sure of whether you'll be able to make it to MBA after 2 years, not with the kind of competition. But work experience is definitely a value add when it comes to understanding the courses in MBA, making a good placement after MBA, getting into admission into MBA. So work experience is definitely useful, whether it is 2-year MBA or 1-year MBA. So a preferable vintage, I would say, is a 2-year to 4-year vintage is a much better thing to get into an MBA. And anything less than that, it should be because you are looking at it as a career opening course and you probably are trying to get to a school which you believe you got, you are happy about the admission you got and you don't want to wait, that's okay. And those who do an MBA usually after more than 4 years, they are usually people who are not satisfied with the work, or they're kind of stuck. These are the times people kind of do. If someone chooses to do an MBA, a general MBA, it makes a lot more sense. If you're proactive, I think the time zone you need to look for is 2 years and 4 years. But if there are equally good reasons for someone to go to an MBA as a fresher or more so after 4 years. But as I said, the right proactive choice would be between anywhere up to 2 to 4 years, right? Let me now answer the next question, which is probably the last question from my side, and then I'll take a lot of questions from the audience, right? I mean, these are the dilemmas that we face. Location dilemma. Should I be doing it in India or should I be doing in foreign MBA? And if it's foreign, should it be USA? Should it be some other country, right? UK or Australia or New Zealand, right? I mean, Europe, any other country, right? So I wanted to answer this question first. Let me kind of tell you something. India or foreign MBA, unlike your masters or technology courses, it is a very location dependent course. I want you to understand this. What I mean by location dependent, see, if you have to do a masters today in environment or ecosystem, I mean, I think probably Belgium is a very attractive place, sometimes much better than US University also, because there's a lot of ecological, eco and environmental research going on there. But with respect to MBA, MBA is not a course in terms of subject. MBA is a course in terms of understanding the regional business culture, regional business style, methods, processes, etc. and people. Hence, it makes a lot more sense for you to do an MBA based on which location, which country, which area you would want to take care of your career in. I know we are talking about a global world, we are talking about a global economy. Our careers are not going to be placed out of one location, but do understand you would have a predominant area. Hey, you would want to be in Asia Pacific, or you wanted to go to US, you wanted to be in Europe, or you probably want to be in India. I think once you have a clarity on where you want to set up your career in, and accordingly, I think you can take the question of should it be India or foreign. If someone wants to kind of stay back in India or come back to India and kind of set up their career, whether it is entrepreneurship or a job or anything, it makes a lot more sense for them to do an MBA from an Indian B school, because it helps them to understand the local business methods, and the network that you develop also in your B school helps you to kind of take care of your career. I'll give you a very interesting example with this India versus foreign debate. As I told you, after my MBA, I went to McKinsey as a strategic consultant. There we had a very interesting situation. Many students from Stanford and Harvard wanted to repatriate, wanted to come, to India or China, because these are two markets where there's a lot of growth, and they wanted to do some project here. But you see, Indian offices, Indian McKinsey office were very uncomfortable giving a chance to someone from US, because very simply Indian clients like Ambani's, Tata's, or anyone are better served by someone who understands the Indian business methods than them. Similarly, if an Indian or Chinese were to go study in Indian business school, even in an IIM, and trying to go to New York or Boston to try kind of set up their career, it will take time. So what I'm trying to say is, in case you have a very clear plan of where you want to settle down, where you want to take care of your career, accordingly choose an MBA. Similarly, even between US and UK, say which is preferred. See, preferred, please understand, at the end of the day, there's a kind of overall branding that you have. You get into a London Business School, you get into Stanford Business School, you get into Harvard Business School, the kind of brand you get is very different. But we're talking about, even if you talk about top 50 universities in US or top 50 in UK, please understand that there are a lot of local brands. It is extremely important for you to choose a country not by a general understanding, but by saying, hey, would I want to settle down in UK? Would I want to settle down in US? It makes a lot more sense for someone to kind of do their MBA in US in case you want to settle down in US, because it gives you a lot of access, a lot of network. People there understand that MBA better. A top 50 B school in US is much better than a top 20 business school in Europe if you want to settle down in US. Please understand this. I hope I've answered this well. We'll take it up more. And a second kind of question I kind of ask once in a while is very interesting. I have gotten an admission into a college which is in my city. I'm going to get in there as a day scholar, or should I go for a residential? MBA, as we discussed already, is a kind of course where there is a lot of value in terms of peer networking, peer-to-peer learning, much more than the class learning that you make. Hence, it makes a lot more sense if you can, as much as possible, if you got a college which is a day scholar college, and that is probably the best college you got in, probably then you would go for day scholar. But otherwise, preferable thing is residential, because that gives you a lot of peer-to-peer interaction, and you will be able to learn a lot from each other. So residence is a much better method. And coming to the very interesting, probably the last point on this slide and probably this presentation, but a very interesting question that I keep getting asked is, how do I choose? Because an MBA in India has become very costly these days. A typical top 10, top 15 business school in India might cost anywhere between 12 to 15 lakhs for the 2-year course that we're talking about. And even an average decently good college might charge around 7 to 8 lakhs of fees, right? How do we kind of handle this fees debate? How do we choose which kind of, or where do we do when we have this kind of situation? Please understand, fees versus salary, as you always know, is a very simple debate in terms of you expect the more fees you pay, the college has to be better and probably deliver more on salary. But interestingly, you would understand that salary is not the only metric by which you can measure a college. A college would give you brand and network and a lot more. But in general, I have found in my experience that any college which is able to give 100%, what do you mean by 100%? 100% of your fees is the first salary, that's a good school to go to. After that, you don't need to measure anything around 100, 80% to 120%. If your fees is 10 lakhs and if the college is able to offer 10 lakhs as an initial annual salary, I think that would be a good number to kind of get started. Some colleges provide 12, some colleges provide 8, 9. That is a reasonable limit. But if you have a college which is very distinct, you pay 10 lakhs and something is giving 6 lakhs, and you pay 10 lakhs and something is giving you 9, 10 lakhs, obviously the choice. But please don't make choice between schools where to go to just because of a differential of 1 lakh or 5%. As I said, the focus should be more on ensuring that, hey, is the salary reasonable? If you have a school that takes 15 lakhs as a fees, but the average salary is 12 lakhs, I would probably say that's not as good as a college which takes 8 lakhs and probably gives you an average salary of 8 lakhs. So I think this is also, there are a lot of personal choices, but if you ask me the ROI debate where to go to, so this is how I would answer that question. So this is what I want to say. I think now that I think we have answered all the 5 questions, right? Let me now know what I would do is actually there are a lot of questions that have come up already. I'll try going through some of these questions. I'll get started with the first question. I think there are a very good number of questions that have come up already. I hope some of the questions are answered. Otherwise, we'll take them up. Let me first start with the first question. We have Raj Jadhav asking. The question that he's asking is, please throw some light on the schools and countries from where, after completing MBA, I can come and join a firm in India. No, as I told you, I think this is a question that I've got to answer in the last slide of the presentation. As I told you, it's very interesting because a lot of times people go to other countries, particularly I see a lot of students repatriating to UK, London to do an MBA and then are expecting to come back. Please understand, the best way, if you want to come and join a firm in India, I would suggest you to kind of stay back in India and do an MBA in India. If you want to go abroad and do an MBA and come back to India, I don't know if that's a great choice you're making. If you're doing that because you believe it's a brand, yeah, you're going to schools like London Business School, you're going to schools like, if you wanted to go to Europe, if you're planning to go to INSEAD, if you're going to US, you're going to schools like Harvard or Stanford or Cornell. All that makes sense. But if you're going to an average college there, which is as good as an average college in India, I mean equivalent college. So I would say if you wanted to settle down in India, you wanted to kind of have a job in India, it makes a lot more sense for you to come do an MBA in India. I hope I answered your question, Raj. Let me kind of take one more question now. There's one question from Summer. It's a very interesting question. Not because it's a new question, but this is a question again I think I've answered a little in the slide already. This is by Summer G. The question is it advisable to go to MBA after working for a couple of years? Or freshers can also prefer? As I already told you, an MBA is a course which is more finishing oriented, which is more career enhancing. It makes a lot more sense for someone to kind of go for an MBA after they have some kind of credo under their belt. At the same time, freshers trying to get into MBA is very, very okay. It's perfectly acceptable as long as they're able to get to the right school. Freshers, just for the lack of job opportunities, trying to get to a school which might not give you such a great option is not a great thing, right? So let's kind of understand this. So this is the answer for Summer. I think let me kind of look at the next set of questions that we have here. I think the other question that I have, there's one more question that I have here. There's a question that Avinash Baisa is asking us. Avinash is asking us, what is your take on global MBAs? That's a question. I think global MBA, see, the better school you go to, the better brand you get individually, and your resume looks more impressive. You are more qualified. But do understand that a brand does not and mostly might not have a universal appeal. As I already told you, for example, let's take the example of Indra Nooyi. Indra Nooyi is the current PepsiCo world chairman, but she is actually an MBA from she's an MBA from IIM Calcutta, right? So I'm saying global MBA, yes, global MBA, instead of asking global MBA or other country MBA, I'll rather say there are some brands in each country which are actually global brands. Say like IIMs in India, like the Harvards and Stanfords in US, like the London Business School in UK, like you have NUS in Singapore. So I'm saying there are some brands which are global, but a lot of schools, otherwise you will have to look at more from the regional point of view. Let me kind of go to the next question I have here. There's a very nice question here from Hitesh. Again, I think Hitesh has raised a hand earlier and he has sent a question also. He says, what is the chance of a fresher in MBA? Hitesh is asking. Hey, by the way, even today, by the time, very, very interesting thing that I wanted to kind of say. Hitesh, please understand that even today, 20% of the batch in the top IIMs is freshers. Top IIMs, as I'm saying, IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta on average. When I was at IIM Bangalore, the average experience was around 2 years, right? I mean, there were at least 40% of students who were from 0 to 9 months, and still, as I said, there are 20% of the people who are actually freshers, and this is the top schools. And believe me, there are a lot of other schools. I'm not just taking about top 3 schools. If we kind of take the top 20 schools in India, top 20 schools in India on average carry with themselves around, you can just count 200 250 seats in all. So kind of into 220, you would have 5,000 seats. Believe me, all the 5,000 seats will not be taken up by the WorkX guys. There's at least be 1,000, 2,000, 2,500. I mean, half of it, I would say 30 to 50%. I would say, depending on the kind of college you're talking about. Freshers have a great chance in an MBA. There's no doubt about that. As I said, freshers would have to go for an MBA if they believe the job opportunity they have in the hand is not to their liking. But more important than that, as I told you, it should be because they have a clarity on MBA is what they wanted to do, and they should go ahead for that. That's what my suggestion would be, Hitesh, with respect to your chances in MBA. There's one question from Mr. Ajay. Okay, he's asked. Okay, I think Ajay is just asking me to make the voice louder. Okay, I think there's one question from Tapas Vaibhav. Which is the best B school in the world? I mean, that's a very interesting question, Tapas. I mean, I wish I knew, and I wish anyone knew, because the best B school in the world, as I already told you, there are rankings that come from a lot of people. The rankings keep changing, and if you're seriously interested in finding which is the best B school, etc., one thing I would suggest is keep a tab of one very interesting like Vault. There's a Vault website and Vault people, just like we have Forbes for rich and stuff. Vault is a very good source for any related career related this thing. Vault is a place. Vault rankings would be great. Vault tables as they're called. Vault league tables as they're called. With respect to corporate college, it's a wonderful place to actually know. But I'm saying this keeps changing, right? I mean, you would not have a same thing every year. You might have a change here and there, but usually some of the names I've used throughout the presentation, like the Harvard, like the London Business School. These are some names that I kind of revere a lot when it comes to being the best in the world, right? So that's one thing. And let me take the next question. There's a question from Rohit Jain. Rohit Jain is asking, sir, I'm in the final year of BTech. What's the right time to do an MBA? Rohit, I think, I mean, for you specifically, I think we have the answer that I gave early is good enough. In case, Rohit, you have a clarity with respect to what kind of job you would want to do, what kind of career you wanted to shape up, you might actually want to go to MBA as a fresher also. That's not at all an issue. But in case you're not sure about why you want to do an MBA, I think you give yourself time. You know, you kind of get to a job after your BTech, try to get to a job, work for a few years. It gives you a lot of finish to yourself, both in terms of your persona and communication. And it not only is about graduating out of MBA with a better like prospects, but even getting into MBA becomes easier the moment you have some couple of years experience under your belt. So Rohit, that's my suggestion for you. At the same time, if you get to a school which is of your choice, which is of your liking, you need not wait. You can go in as a fresher also. That's one thing that I wanted to say. So let me come back to some more questions. See, Raj is asking another question. He says, I've done BTech in biotechnology. Will it be difficult to study MBA for me? Raj, believe me, MBA is not at all a course that is specific to anyone, right? I mean, it's not about biotech guys or engineering guys or any other guys. There is a lot of economics, there's a lot of accounting, there's a lot of marketing and other courses. So what happens is sometimes people who are from this background might feel that they know some courses. In fact, MBA kind of ensures that people from all walks of life have something for them to take in. Interestingly, I don't know how many of you have read this book, but there's a book called Snapshots from Hell. Snapshots from Hell is a very, very interesting book about life, in MBA. This is a very old book, 20 years old book, about written by someone about the life in Stanford. This book, I have got my hand into this book the moment I got into IIM Bangalore. Even before I got into IIM Bangalore, I read this book. The author there kind of speaks about a very interesting classification of people who do an MBA, Raj. He speaks about people either being poets or non-poets. By poets, he means people who have come into MBA without actually some kind of science background. People from arts, people from those walks of literature, those walks of life where they have not countered too much of maths, too much of computing, etc. And then non-poets are those who can get into these computing courses. Throughout the book, I mean, when I first read the book, I was also equally doubtful if, hey, are there specific kind of graduate courses which should get into MBA, but it's not. What happens is so-called poets and so-called non-poets, both of them enjoy different types of courses, and you have a mix of both for them. So whether you're a biotech student or a pharmacy student, or by the way, even today even doctors, lawyers also get into MBA. So it is definitely not difficult. You have to kind of ensure that there are courses, the kind of courses you choose there should be according to your liking, according to your interest, and definitely you need to work on some courses which probably have a little different kind of orientation as compared to biotech courses, but otherwise it's not at all difficult, right? That's something that I wanted to answer you, Raj. Let me kind of take the next question. There's a question from Rasanya here, Rasanya Reddy. I think Rasanya is asking a very interesting question. She's asking how many questions must be answered perfectly to get a best score. No, isn't that a very interesting question, Rasanya? But I don't know which exam you're talking about. And I'm assuming because we are in India, we're talking about MBA today. I'm assuming we're talking about the exam called CAT, right? Let me kind of talk about this to you. CAT is an exam, as you know, consists of 60 questions. And typically, anyone who has been able to, I mean, I've been taking care of this exam, and I've been looking at the analytics of this exam from the last 5 years, 2009 onwards. what I've seen is anyone, in spite of people saying 1 year the exam is difficult, 1 year the exam is easy, typically Rasanya, if someone is able to get 40 questions right, I mean, if you target 40 out of 60 and get almost all of them right, I'm talking about an accuracy which is 95% plus. A 40 questions would be good enough for someone to crack a good score, like a 95, 96, 97 percentile, and probably land up in top 25, top 20, 25 business schools in India. At the same time, please understand there are students who usually, a lot of freshers, not even those who are freshers particularly, come out of the exam and say we have attempted all 60, we have attempted all 58. Now others are usually confused. Hey, is the exam so easy? Is the exam so? I mean, is it what happened to the exam? What happens is the freshers usually attempt all the questions and make a lot of mistakes. Please understand, CAT is a tricky exam, and very interesting. The last year 100 percentiler, the exact number of questions he got right would be 49. Entire India topper, I'm talking about 49 is the number of questions he got right, and that's the number of questions he has attempted. So that should give you an idea that attempting around 50 questions in CAT means that you should definitely be in 99 percentile. You would have got few wrong. But if you're someone aspiring for good percentile, even if something not as spectacular as 99, a 95 class for a top 25, top 30 business school, you should, I think, target a 95 percentile, and with a 40 questions all right would be a great thing. I mean, you might actually get a 98, 99. That's my suggestion to you, Rasanya. And continuing with this preparation thing, there are a couple of more questions that I have here. I think I'll kind of answer them because they're relevant. If someone wants, this is Rohit Jain asking again. He's asking, sir, if someone wants to start prepare for MBA entrance, what are the right books and strategies? Right, Rohit, that's a nice question, and probably some of you who are actually looking to start planning for an MBA, this could be a question that you all wanted to ask. Right, and let me kind of tell you, if you really wanted to prepare for CAT as an exam, might not require more than a few months, right? I mean, 3 to 6 months of time would be good time for you to really prepare for CAT as an exam. But please understand what happens in CAT. CAT has 3 areas, as you all know. There is verbal ability, there is a quantitative ability, and there is a data interpretation and logical reasoning. Out of these 3 areas, you can prepare for most of the areas in a short span of time if there are few areas where you have already had the right skill. Rohit, there are 3 areas that we at Abhyaas specifically tell students to kind of take care of in a longer run, as opposed to other areas which can be done in a very short amount of time. The 3 areas, let me kind of repeat it. The first area that you need to be really good at is vocabulary, your words, your capability with words in English. Number 2 is your reading habit. You should be able to do reading well. And then finally, your puzzle solving, your interest in puzzle solving and IQ. If these 3 are skills that you already have, in terms of preparing for an MBA, I think 3 to 4 months will be enough. But these 3 skill sets I've just spoken about, because others are all knowledge. Maths is knowledge, grammar in English is knowledge. But if these 3 skill sets you have, other things can be done in 3-4 months. Now, write books and strategies. Let me kind of tell you, you are inundated by the number of books that you have in the market. Materials are available with trainers like us. We have a lot of material, and every coaching center has a good material. See, because this is not an exam of knowledge, because it's an exam of aptitude and IQ. I think it's not the book, it's not what book, but what matters is the practice you do with the book. There are people who have actually, I know of students who had not even they kind of go to 3-4 different trainers, they kind of get all 3 materials but not even solve one of them. So books are not important. You kind of, yes, whichever is you can facilitate yourself. Definitely there are some big names, and Abhyaas is one of them. You can kind of get trained, you can take material, solve the questions, but more important is practice. I would say more than book. As I said, strategies, I wanted to kind of say with respect to the questions you have asked in strategies, what strategies, I wanted to tell you something. That conquer your MBA exam prep in 2 phases. A phase where you're building up the steam, a phase where you're attacking the exam. A phase where you're building up your capability, your skill. It is much better to start this at least 1 year earlier, 1.5 year earlier, where you start reading lots of books. You start focusing on reading newspapers and getting good vocabulary in your kitty. And in the last 3-4 months is when you can actually say, let's kind of speed up, let's kind of do the sprint towards cracking CAT as an exam, where you're talking about maths in specific, the topics that are there, do a lot of mocks, etc. I mean, that would be my strategy for you. And different people have different capability. A student who believes that he's actually extremely good at English because of the kind of background he has, for that person, the focus definitely has to be on fonts. Right? For someone who is from engineering background, or they believe that maths is something that they're very comfortable with, usually these kind of people are higher in number, Rohit, And these people make a mistake of starting for CAT in the last 2-3 months, does not work because they need to focus on English part, which usually takes longer time. So which is a skill part. So ensure that you give right amount of time for yourself, right? So that's something that I wanted to tell you. Let me now go to a next question. I think I have a long question here from Rakesh. Let me read the question. I think it's a big question. Let me kind of read it and probably answer it. I have done so-called MBA from a local college in Warangal because of family ties. I would like to do PhD in management from one of the reputed institutions, but these reputed institutions expect your resumes to be very impressive, and you do know what kind of resumes these students have studied from a normal college. I have been working as an MBA lecturer in a college in Tirupati. To publish papers, we need to have very impressive career resume, but until we publish papers, we can't make our resume impressive. We need to break this vicious cycle somehow. What's your take on that? Rakesh, that's a very nice point you made. In spite of all the discussion that we are having, a lot of us sometimes land up in colleges that we are not happy about later in life, because life and a career is not a single time, it's not a single chance game, right? It's a multi-chance game. You can keep working. There are people who do double MBAs, the people who have done MBA, and people, you have to find the right option. I think one example I want to give you is, I'm sure you're talking about PhD. Do you know that there are people who after PhD do something called postdoc course? Even those who have done a PhD from a reputed institution, they go ahead and do a postdoc. So I'm saying the learning does not end. But I definitely agree with your point with respect to vicious cycle of your resume not being good, and hence you're not getting into the network that you ought to get. Believe me, for you to be able to get to the network that you want to get to, yes, it will take time. Probably what you can do is, you might not be able to target the international journals. You can talk about national journals. If you're not talking about A category national journals, talk about targeting B category national journals. It's a matter of, you are not able to develop a great case study for an international conference. Try to first publish a mini caselet based on local thing. Ensure that the course that you develop, the course you're dealing with in your Tirupati college, if you can ensure that your students actually get a good flavor, the students would actually take your brand aside. And then I'm thinking, if you wanted to really do a PhD from a university, you already have a net score, NET exam, you can take a good score. But in general, I think you can build a resume only over time. I do agree that there's no easy answer, but what I can say with certainty is, it takes, even an ocean is not built in a day or two. An ocean is built by, many million and trillions of droplets. The focus has to be, when you know that you don't have that one huge diamond in you, a diamond that is not available right now in your resume, the idea is to kind of collect more and more precious small pebbles and make them look good so that you are able to attract a diamond. It's very simple, right? You either have a 1,000 rupee note, or if you don't have a 1,000 rupee note, you collect 1,000 1 rupee notes. You collect 1,000 1 rupee coins. Rakesh, I would suggest you to kind of have a very focused, patient approach. Start doing papers in smaller journals. It will give you access to at least the methodologies. You can start talking to people. You can always get there. I do agree it's a tough world out there, but it's not difficult. You can definitely do that. And that's my answer to you, Rakesh. I hope your question was long, and I hope my answer has been equally long and answered you comprehensively, right? Hitesh Garg is asking the next question here. He's asking a very I would say beaten down question, Hitesh, I would say, with respect to people who are prepared for MBA. He's asking something like, why MBA? What would be the appropriate answer for this? I hope, Hitesh, you're asking about a question after one enters into an interview, right? This is a very interesting question, but believe me, last 2-3 years, this question has become out of trend. People are not asking, interviewers are not asking this question of why MBA anymore. Why MBA was a very popular question that used to be asked in interviews 3-4 years back, particularly because people wanted to test the intention whether a student is serious about MBA or not. Now people are not asking that anymore. But still, as I told you, we have discussed why MBA already. You should be looking for an MBA because of the 3 skill sets I spoke about, the K, the S, the A. Overall, you should be looking to do an MBA because it fits into your larger vision, larger goal. You have a goal and you believe doing an MBA will enable you to go there. Whether it is being an entrepreneur, whether it is being, getting into making a big name for yourself within marketing, whether you are in a firm where you're already doing extremely well and your firm wants you to take up a role which is leadership oriented, management oriented. So that's the kind of answers you need to have. If you're a fresher, the answer would probably be, I'm absolutely looking to make up a career. I currently am in this college. I kind of made like this, but I'm now looking to improve my career. I really wanted an opening. That is a very open answer, and that is accepted as long as it's very fair and square. It's thought out. That's okay, Hitesh. That's the kind of answer you could give. Right. I have a question from Prashant S here. Prashant Shinagare. He's asking this question, right? If reading speed is important, how does one improve the reading speed? Now that's a very nice question, Prashant. I would say When I was in my first year engineering, by the time I would not have read loads of books. I was not an avid reader by the time. I was only a vernacular reader. I never read English books a lot. But what happened in my first and second year engineering is that's when I was first introduced to the world of IIM. Some seniors told me what it is like, and I started getting aspirations into doing something like this. And the first few books I read, it took a lot of time. I took 2 to 3 months to complete a book of the size of 200 pages, 250 pages, something like Chetan Bhagat's book today, something which is a pulp fiction. But reading speed is something that gets picked up only and only when you do more and more of it, more and more reading. I think after my second year, I've actually been able to do 50 different books within a span of 1 year. That is actually one book every week. Might not look great, right? But let me tell you, I'm someone who's a gold medalist in my college. I'm the student secretary there. My book reading was not the only thing. Book reading, I actually used to do one book every week, according to me, is a great strike rate for someone with a lot of other activities. So why I'm saying that? I was able to do that in my third year only because I spent my first and second years in painstaking to slowly read a book when I'm not enjoying it also, right? The turning point happened to me when actually during one of my semester exams ended, and one day I've just got a book. There's a book called Roots. I don't know if you've heard of the book Roots, which talks about an African who is an African American who's trying to root out how black Americans have come into being, how they're distinct. It's a very real story. It is some 500-600 pages, long book. What happened was, I mean, after my semester exams, I just picked up this book from one of my friend's house. I brought the book back. 9 p.m. it is. I did my dinner. I started the book. The book was so interesting. I'm telling you this again in the span between my second and third year of engineering. I did not leave the book till I completed. I completed the book in the morning at 5 and I've done it. So I think that's a change. I'm saying we all have. This is more like a form. In a cricket, how do you get form? How are you able to get that right timing? You get timing because you practice. You hit a lot of balls. So reading speed improves because you do a lot of reading, and over time it becomes internal to you. It becomes something ingrained in you. And in the beginning, one suggestion I have for you, Prashant, in case you wanted to improve reading speed. Just like when you're driving for the first time, you can't focus too much on making, I should drive perfectly and stuff. You should not worry too much about understanding each word. When you're reading for the first time, when you're trying to read quickly, the focus should be on getting the overall meaning than trying to enjoy and try to understand each word. Because a lot of times people's reading speed is kind of decreases only because people do too much of, people try to put a lot of importance on each word, which kind of decreases your speed, and over time you're not making a great habit out of it. First, get into a comfort of making a message, making an understanding of an overall thing, and then probably get into a lot of words. That's my suggestion for you, Prashant. Hope that helps. Now, the next question that I have is from Sagar Sheth. It's a very interesting question. How soon should an engineering undergrad start preparing for GMAT? I mean, frankly, GMAT is an exam that has a validity of 5 years, Sagar. So in that context, even if you kind of prepare for GMAT and get a perfect GMAT score, get a 740, 750, 760, 780 or a 720, depending on how much aptitude, how good you are, you get it in first year, it's still valid after 4 years. But please understand, with respect to GMAT, I already spoke about. A foreign MBA, most of the foreign B schools actually expect you to have good experience, good work experience before you get there. Indian MBAs also have started having that. So in that context, trying to do preparation for GMAT can happen anytime. I'm not talking about preparation, but in terms of taking GMAT seriously and using the score, I would suggest someone to have good experience under their belt. Someone with a 3-4 plus years of experience is much better at taking a GMAT and doing an MBA than someone who is an undergrad or just completed undergrad. If you have completed undergrad or you're just trying to get into MBA, it's much better for you to think of a CAT or those kind of exams. Even for foreign business schools, you want to do an MBA from other universities and you want to do it immediately after being a fresher. Believe me, most of the universities which offer MBAs for freshers accept GRE as well. GRE also is an exam like GMAT, which is again admission to master's courses, as people know, but it's also useful for MBA courses. So if you want to go into an MBA as a fresher, as someone who just completed your graduation, it might make sense for you to kind of think about that also. But GMAT is an exam that is the only entrance a lot of times for some great schools abroad, and which usually require a lot of experience. So better focus on getting the mix of experience and GMAT right. And in terms of preparation, I would say whether it is GMAT, GRE or CAT, any other exam, please understand, as an exam prep, the best time for you to prepare is when you are in graduation, when you are a student. Because when you are in a student, what happens is you kind of have the same the preparation aptitude, as I call that. You have that and you make the best out of it. When you get into work, a lot of times people are not very comfortable preparing for the exam for the first time. And those students who actually make it to IIMs after 2 years or 3 years or 4 years of experience are those who have taken their CAT or GMAT or exams seriously while they're in grad. So preparation for the exam needs to happen in undergrad, but you might be able to actually crack the business school sometime later. That's my suggestion for you, Sagar. I think then let me take this question from Dheeraj again. Dheeraj has a question here. Dheeraj Kumar has a question. Could you suggest some books, interesting preferably for beginners, to inculcate the habit of reading? Now that's a great question. I mean, believe me, I believe book reading is a habit which is like an ocean. You ask me which end of the ocean should I start with? It's very difficult to say. It depends on where you are, what kind of books are interesting for you. I don't know, but I'm saying some people like fiction, some people like non-fiction. If you're someone who enjoys history, try read some books from history of India. Try reading. A lot of foreigners have written their interesting views about how India is shaped up. So I'm thinking it depends on what kind of subjects you enjoy. If you enjoy science fiction, you can kind of read Asimov a lot. If you're someone who enjoys pulp fiction, you're reading for the first time, you probably start with Chetan Bhagat kind of people. If you're someone who enjoys serious philosophy-based fiction, go and read Ayn Rand. So I think depending on the kind of personality you are, the books are different. But as I said, beginners inculcating the habit, I think the best way to get started in terms of reading books is start reading some easy pulp fiction. I mean, pulp fiction, I'm not using the word in a derogatory manner. I mean pulp, beaten out, easily understood. I'm saying Chetan Bhagat is a great writer. I mean, I enjoy his writings a lot. It's a great way to start your reading habit because all the 5 books are very easy to read, very quick to read. Get started with that. That would be absolutely fine, Dheeraj. That would be one suggestion I have for you. Let me kind of also look at some other questions there. I think we have another 10 minutes. There are some more questions that I have. Right, this is a question from Raj Jadhav again. Is it good to study international business? Heard a lot about it, and what will be the difference between MS in international business and an MBA? Now that's a very specific question, Raj. I wanted to tell you international business does exist in many institutes in very different formats. Again, as I told you, whether it is, you have to choose whether you want to do an MBA in a specificity or a general. MBA as a course is a generalist course. Trying to do an MBA in international business is something, it is useful only and only if you are very clear about what you want to do. If Raj, you are very clear that you want to get into an export-import kind of sector, you have some plans with respect to those kind of things, probably it makes a lot more sense for you to learn international business. And in terms of a name, whether it is MS in international business or MBA in international business, it doesn't matter. As long as your college is, you got the right college in your hand and you got the right course in your hand. Ensure that the course and the college that you have in your hand give you an opportunity to kind of network with the right people, give you an opportunity to get into the right kind of companies that you wanted to go to, then it doesn't matter. But the focus should be a lot more on, first of all, are you serious about, do you understand what international business is? Or you want to learn international business for the sake of, it's a globalized world. Please understand every MBA is globalized, that matter. So focus should be more on that, right? Understand the course, and if the course is something that suits your need, then probably that's a better way to look at it, right? And let me take one more question. Samar G has a question here. The question he's asking is basically, why is MBA PGDM so expensive? Can one expect a fat salary after MBA? Now that's a very I would not say an interesting question, but what I would say is it's a very dicey question, I would say, to answer. Yes, it is so expensive. I'm from the school of thought that MBA education in India has become too costly, and actually kind of I'm kind of fighting it out with some business schools to kind of reduce their fees, etc. Some retrograde grade you can say, but yes, at the same time, please understand MBA. It's a simple supply and demand question, Samar. What happens is now more and more people have, because more people are able to afford that money to be getting into an MBA, and hence colleges are probably taking the fees. But frankly speaking, yes, does MBA offer a good salary? Yes, MBA offers a good salary, but depends a lot on what kind of college, what kind of role you get to. Because at the end of the day, any company would not pay you a salary until and unless they see a value in that. Let me give one simple example. We have heard of stories of Facebook hiring engineering graduates for 45 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 70 lakhs. IITians heard taken for 70 lakhs. So they're ready to give salaries like that if they are able to make revenue 10 times, 20 times more than that from you. So I think a salary does not depend only on the college, but depends on a lot on what qualities you have to offer, as in what kind of value you would build for the company. In the sense that would they be able to make some value out of you? Would they be able? That's a very important thing. A lot of times, people kind of read the news that says IIM's offering 1 crore, 2 crore salaries. Please don't be fooled. A lot of them are foreign salaries, and when converted, in terms of purchasing power parity, a 30 lakhs in India is a much better salary than a crore or 1.5 crore in US. So you should be careful about that. But in general, yes, salaries are offered, and some of these institutions give you an opportunity to get some of the fattest salaries, but you get a fat salary not because of the college, it is because you are capable, you are one among them. That's very important, right? Let me go to one more question now. We have a question again from Sagar here. Sagar is asking, what are the chances that a fresher can be admitted to a reputed business school in USA, considering I am from IIT Bombay, okay, IITB, and will get a good GMAT score? What should I do to increase my chances? Sagar, I think please understand, if you wanted to kind of get into a business school in USA or any other country for that matter, as a fresher, I think yes, you can do it. You can still do it, getting a great GMAT score and already being a good school, and probably your CGPA should be high. And a very important thing is, foreign schools, unlike Indian schools still have this huge impetus given to their academics, whether it is 10th, 12th or grad. Foreign schools, apart from the academics, the focus is a lot more on the overall, while many people do not like this jargon word, but holistic personality, overall personality. As in, see, very simply put, there are few kind of activities in your resume that you can have so as to ensure that you are shown as a well-rounded personality. One thing is, have you kind of shown leadership already in your life? Have you taken leadership roles somewhere in your life? You can probably make a notes of it. The number two is, have you shown that you are a person that does not have an interest in only one area, but you are having multiple interests? That's where your extracurricular activities come in, your hobbies come in. You have some hobby like that. And then the next thing, have you shown some kind of effort in doing some social work? It's not for the sake of doing it, but have you shown some kind of impact somewhere? That's very important. So they're looking at leadership, they're looking at diversity, they're looking at impact. And another important thing they're definitely looking at is, in the kind of work you're doing, are you extraordinary, right? For example, IIT Bombay gives you that one of those things. Here, being an IIT Bombay student means that you are definitely one among those extraordinary students. But you also need to show them the diversity, the leadership, the social impact. So different kind of skill sets. And apart from all these, a very important thing, particularly a good business school, whether the USA or India, will ask for is, do you have a vision? Do you have a clarity? A lot of times in your interviews, people get rejected not because you are not good enough. People get rejected. In my own experience, I have a student in my own experience who got 100 percentile in CAT, but did not make it to top IIMs, top 3 IIMs. He has to give it again. Is only because he was not able to put together a vision of how an MBA will help him. So a lot of times these schools also look out, Sagar, in terms of understanding, hey, as a personality, as a person, do you actually have a clear idea of what you want to do in your life and how MBA is going to help that? If you kind of do not have that, probably even in spite of having a great school, you might not be able to get it. So this is what is at the end of the day called as essays. People ask essays. Admission committees ask you to write different essays in B schools. So you need to be careful about these things. So I think these are the skill sets. These are the different areas I would suggest you to kind of look at. Let me I think last few questions now. I think we are almost done. We have last 3 minutes or so. Let me kind of take care of a couple of more questions, right? Yeah, so there is a question from Praveen Kumar. He's asking, do B schools consider any kind of job experience? I work as a technical support officer. Do they consider it as experience? It's a very good question, Praveen. I am a part of some admission panels. This is a very, very interesting question we keep asking. What kind of experience is experience? Believe me, work experience does not differentiate between whether you are a public sector experience, private sector experience, whether you are a blue chip company, non-blue chip company, you are a startup, not a startup. I think work experience is not measured by where, but work experience is measured by the quality. Yes, having worked, say, in a company which is well known like an Infosys helps because people understand what that means. Or a well known company like Deloitte, but at the same time, please understand the name itself is not enough. What is more important is, if you have been on the bench in Infosys for 2 years, it is worse as opposed to kind of working in a startup IT company whose name is not known, but you probably have done some wonderful work. You probably have made a product which is currently used by a client of some $1 million worth. So I'm saying, Praveen, it doesn't matter what kind of work, where are you working, but it depends on what kind of work are you doing. Say if you're saying technical support officer, How many people, how many clients have you supported? What kind of issues that you have handled? Have you led a team? What is your work? At the end of the day, I think the nature of work, quality of work is what matters when it comes to the experience, and rather than there. That's something that I want to say, Praveen, and definitely they'll consider this as an experience. Right, let me take the last question for today. I think we are running out of time. The last question for today. Let me look at this question. I think we have a lot of questions, but let me take this question from right. So I have this question in front of me from after Praveen. I have Tapas Vaibhav asking a very interesting question. Is there some scholarship or fellowship programs for Indian students to pursue MBA in Stanford or Harvard? Okay, very interesting, Tapas. Yes, there are. Every university has different kind of scholarship. I remember in our time, Stanford. In fact, our own visit to Stanford was Mukesh Ambani had kind of subsidized our course. So I'm saying, in terms of are there scholarships? Absolutely, there are many. But what kind of scholarships? It depends on university. University to university, there are different. You need to kind of do research. In case you're talking about Stanford and Harvard in specific, the best way to kind of understand scholarships for Indian students is through Indian student associations. Each of these schools have their own Indian student association bodies. Try to get through them, and probably it might help you to get more information about what kind of scholarships are available. So I think that's a kind of way to kind of get there. So I think this is where I take let's kind of end the questions there. I think before we actually end, let me kind of take you through. These are my contact details. Those who are interested, if you ever have any other question, you can write to me here, naresh@abhyas.in. These are our websites and these are our Facebook profiles. You can note them, and I'll be more than happy to kind of reply your queries in the best possible manner that I have. And I usually have a timeline of 24 hours to kind of reply your questions. You can look at that. The next thing that obviously today's session is all we have to thank CREDILA for this wonderful opportunity for all of us. I think to be able to speak to many of you through this webinar model, and Abhyaas is the organization that I represent. These are the two organizations that have brought this entire webinar to you. Hope you have had a great time on the webinar. You picked up some useful stuff, and you have made you've got some of your questions answered. I'm sure 1 hour time is too less for us to kind of really cover a vast topic like MBA, but I hope I gave you some useful inputs. So that's it. Thanks a lot for spending time with me, and I did really enjoy talking to you all. All the very best to you, and this is where we end. And probably you can send more questions. As I told you, I have put my contact details. I'll probably take you back to this slide where my contact details are put in. You can always write to me at this ID. Right. All the best then. Have a great career ahead, and looking forward to see some mails and be in touch with you. Thanks a lot.